forgot to start the live stream. Give that a second to get caught up. We're looking good.
There we go.
Okay. So,
Jeff,
yeah.
I lost my, let me see, I've lost my screen too now.
It's, yeah.
I still have mine.
All right, Elizabeth, you want to just let us
Well-
know then which ones are in and out?
Yep.
Do you want us to still raise our hands then?
Yeah, I think Elizabeth is going to be able to
Okay.
see you for that.
Yeah, and I might be able, I'm a little bit here. Maybe I can also, because I've got the second screen. I've got, okay, I can see everybody too. So, all right. Oh, okay, but I got to get back to that. So first, judges, I'll show you, this is monochrome open projected. These are the 7 images that are the 2 highest scoring. They got 14s and 15s. I'll go through each one so that you can see each one full screen. And then since we have 7, I think we'll just do in and out so that we need to get it down to the 3 so that we can pick first, second, and third. So here's the first one.
Jeff,
Yeah.
are you going to be reading the title as well?
No. We generally, the titles really don't mean anything. It's just for us to make sure that we know whose is whose.
Okay.
So, yeah, you don't have to worry about what the titles actually say. And then that's the last one. I'll go through these backwards just so I can start at the beginning. Okay, so judges, we'll start with this one, and raise your hands for in or keep them down for out.
With the reflection one here?
Yeah, this is Chicago Reflections. Okay.
You want to repeat what they say then, Jeff?
Oh, one. One.
Oh, good Lord, I was muted the whole time. Am I supposed to? So you can see, Jeff? You don't need me to do in and out for you?
Yeah, I can see.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this one here, can we score this one? Okay, 1. Zero. Two. Three. And 0. Okay.
Well,
Jeff, 1.
Oh, okay. 1.
So we only have two images that would stay in, so we really need to.
Well, we'll go
We'll
through
go back.
those. We'll go back and get for number 3. We just go back to all of them.
Okay, okay.
So we need 2s and 3s. So we have these 2 images to pick first and second from. This gets a little tricky. You can talk amongst yourselves if you want, or we can try an in and out.
I personally, my thought is the sand and the rocks first and the boat second.
I honestly agree. I've thought that since I saw this. I thought that was the winner from when we went through the category in the first place. The long exposure against the sand and the rocks, it just works perfect. I will say,
Along with the waves and the sand.
yeah. And then I think there was focus stacking in the second image with the cabin, which is very technical, and I appreciate that. And it really draws you into the scene. So I still appreciate that as a number 2 in my book.
Okay.
Well, I definitely agree with the number 1. I don't necessarily care for the lake scene, but that's more personal preference. So I can agree with that. It's clearly a 2.
Okay. So this would be first place. Let's see. And let's see. I need to make that a 6. It's not the color I want. All right. 8. Come on. Okay. This would be. Ken, are you getting this down too?
Yeah.
All right. So we need to bring back. Those. Okay, judges. So we have these 5 images to pick the third place one. Do you want to do an in and out, or do you just want to talk about which one you would think would be good for third place?
I'm willing to talk about it if you guys are.
I'm willing.
Okay.
Um,
My thought is I like the glass blower. I like the detail in the beard, and I like how it leads in from left to right as my pick.
I'm not a fan of the glass blower. I feel like it's more of a photo illustration because of the amount of sharpening that has occurred in that image. If anything, the Chicago Reflections would be my third pick.
Oh, this is going to be difficult, huh?
That's why I jumped in number 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that now. I mean, I honestly was in between the top 3 images, the reflection, the glass blower, and Port Washington. I do agree with the over sharpening, and I think over clarifying and dehaze work done in portrait itself, and it kind of throws it off to more of an illustration rather than a photo. The reflection is really good, but what I would have liked is if that would have actually been shot as a long exposure. So get your tripod out and put it up for like 30 seconds. I think it would have added a little bit more drama to the scene itself. I mean, it's great. It's a great image. And Port Washington, that's one of those images that always stands out to me. It shows nature's force. And I mean, it's well in focus. It's shot. I like the composition of it. But if I'm going to have to go between both of your selections, I probably would go with the reflection in Chicago. So.
Okay, that was my second choice, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like the reflection in Chicago for third place. All right, I need to get first place one into there. Okay, great. Judges, one round down. Round two. Round two is mono nature projected, excuse me. So this follows nature rules, no hand of man, which we've actually sort of checked. So they all follow the rule. So these are the 4 images. Do you want to do an in and out on this, or do you just want to discuss and start picking first, second, and third? Since we have just 4?
I'm okay with discussing as long as
I am too. I am too.
That's fine for us.
Okay, who wants? I can go first if you guys want.
That's fine.
Okay. Well, the one that really struck me and stood out to me was the mountains and the cloud. It's quite a unique cloud over the mountains. The next one that struck me was the birds, which is a tough shot to get when they're moving like that. And the third one was the rose looking down on it. To me, the dandelion is just a little blurred coming into the sides, and the background's a little, I'm not sure if that was a studio shot or not. But those were my thoughts.
Spencer, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start off with the dandelion, and I'm going to agree with you that I will put that as 4th. I would have liked that, honestly, to been a little bit more focus stacked and had a little bit more depth to the photo itself. I mean, it's great in general. If you left it as is, I would have liked it cropped in maybe a little bit more to kind of bring more sharpening to the edge, to the middle of the image itself, where all the focus is at. So I'm going to put that at 4th for me. To me, 3rd would be the cranes. I think it's really great editing. I think it's very dramatic. The focus right on the eyes for the front 2 birds is awesome. And yeah, it's not an easy shot to get with them being completely in focus. They are pretty quick flyers. Second, I would do the rose. I love the softness to this photo, and then along with the clarity to the water droplets themselves. I think this photo works well with the lack of focus in some areas, honestly. So I like that a lot. And then again, this image, obviously the mountains with the lenticular clouds sticks out like a sore thumb. Like that is just the epitome of a landscape photo. It's beautiful, very well done. It's a very well thought out scape. He got very lucky with those clouds. So I think I would put that honestly as number one. I display that in my house. So that's my take.
Well, we're all in agreement on first place,
Okay.
definitely. Number two, for me, would in fact be the rose. Number three would be fuzz, primarily because I love that soft focus. Spencer, you're not a fan of it, that's okay. I like the softer looking texture. That's really hard to achieve, especially with the water droplets on it. The sandhill cranes, I appreciate the effort that it takes to shoot any wildlife. What really bothers me is the crop.
Yeah.
It really bothers me to see the leg section of that front bird gone. So as far as I'm concerned, the clouds over the Rockies is number one. Number two would be the droplets on the rose, and three would be fuzz.
So we're all
Okay.
pretty close.
Yeah.
Because I agreed on the rose being number two, in my opinion. But number three, I think, was the one we would have disagreement about. Was that between the dandelion and then the crane?
Yeah, I remember when I first looked at the cranes, that's the one thing I did notice was the legs cut off in the back.
I think because of that technical error, we could honestly probably put that as fourth and just put the dandelion as third.
Yeah,
I mean, just
I agree.
because it does, when you pointed that out, I mean, the crane's eye honestly pulled me into the image more than it being cut off at first.
Right.
That's just being honest. But it does, once you notice it, it just kind of throws everything off.
Okay. So we're gonna go with the clouds and mountains first, the rose second, and the dandelion third.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Rose was second, Jeff?
Yeah.
That really is a stunning image.
It is. And I'm wondering if that was shot with a digital camera or if that was shot with a film camera. That was one thing I was curious about.
Yeah, it was a digital camera.
It was. Was it a panoramic?
Nope. Well, that I can't tell you.
No.
It's a Canon EOS. Okay. First place. There. The rose is second. And that's third. It's gotta go into there. Okay, great. Round 3 is color open projected. We have 6 images to choose from. Since there's 6, I guess we'll do an in and out unless you feel you want to just discuss it. But with 6, it's probably easier to do one round of in and out and see what you get.
Yeah, we can do that. That's fine.
Okay. So let me run through these, each one full screen, so that you can see them that way. Okay, so let's start with this image. Hands up or hands down? Looks, I see 1. This image here. 1. I get 2. This image. 2.
Well, you guys are killing me.
This image here. 1. This image here. 2. And this one here.
Oh, you guys.
Okay, we have 2. So, well, we got it down a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Greater than equal. We've got it down to 4 images. And these are the 4. Now, do you just want to discuss it? At least it got rid of a couple.
Okay, well, for me, the cardinal struck me right away when I saw it. It reminds me of a Christmas card. The crane also struck me quite a bit. I like the background. I like the softness of the background and the sharpness of the crane right in the front. And on the river, I like the lead-in. It's a nice shot. It's a shot that I would like to get sometime with close to the rocks and leading into the river and down the stream. The lighthouse is a nice shot, but unfortunately, I've just seen a lot of those. However, that's pretty much my take on my top 3.
Oh, okay. So for the first 2 bird images, there was a lot of editing done to both of them. Cosmetic editing, most likely, I'm assuming, probably in Photoshop, especially with the background. I like them both technically. I like the crane, or actually, I'm sorry, the blue heron better. I would probably put that for me as 1. 2, I would probably go to the stream. Lead-ins, like you said, are really beautiful, but I also love the reflection of color in the stream itself. The blue leading into the green and then leaving the highlights alone. I like the soft exposure on the water. Then number 3, you do see a lot, but I still really enjoy it when people put in the effort to go out to Split Rock and get that shot of the full moon next to that lighthouse. I would personally put that as number 3. So
Well, I had ranked these on my sheet here, and my top 2 didn't make the cut.
oh no.
So I'm kind of scrambling here a little bit. Um, that's a heron or an egret?
Blue heron.
That is a heron. Okay. Um, it's almost painterly, and I appreciate the effort, but again, I start thinking that that becomes a photo illustration as opposed to a photograph. And you know, I'm an old school guy. I started in photography when it was the option was film, because that's, you know, digital didn't exist. And so, you know, when I see something that's been manipulated that much, I kind of shy away. I really kind of shy away. My favorite out of this is probably the river scene. Well, I know it is. That would be my number one. My number two would in fact be Split Rock, and number three would be the Cardinal. I love that. I do love the river scene. It's very well done. And Split Rock, you know, I don't have an issue with seeing multiple images of the same thing over and over again because it's photo worthy. And I do go out and occasionally shoot a sunrise, and you know, invariably if I go and post it online, I look and see someone else's sunrise that was posted 25 minutes before mine that is remarkably similar, yet they're still both good shots. So yeah. You know, I can easily appreciate that.
I can agree with both you guys on the Split Rock. That as I'm looking at this more and more, you do have the fade in of the sky, which really makes this photo reflecting into the lake. And of course, well, the full moon in there's a little different than what you normally see, because not everybody can get that.
No.
So I guess I could agree with you on that, with that part of it. Of course, the river, as we all know, with the lead-in is great. I'm back and forth on the birds, and I realize both of them have been worked on, although this is the open category, so anything does go.
Yeah. That's where I kind of had my troubles as well with it, because I mean, it's their own creativity they put into that photo, which I mean, photos have been manipulated even in the dark room. So I mean, they're not doing anything new in general.
Right.
So it's creativity. And that's why I appreciate when people put their emotion and creativity into what they're doing, because whoever did that put a lot of time into that. So that's their baby. That's the way I look at that. I honestly, I could agree with the stream being one. I could agree with Split Rock being two. And if I had to pick a favorite out of the two bird images though, I honestly would probably pick the heron over the cardinal. But I can agree with the first two.
Okay.
So I got a little lost. Do you have a choice for number one?
Yeah, the stream.
The stream? Okay. And number two
is Split Rock.
Split Rock?
And we're still working on number three. See, for my part is when I look at the cardinal, that's a great picture of the cardinal, because you don't see many birds, many female cardinals. Everybody wants to take the picture of the male cardinal.
Yeah.
And the female cardinal actually is pretty unique.
It's just the bird itself when you zoom in on it. Like I'm looking at it on my computer.
Okay.
The details on it and everything else, I mean, it looks so painterly to the point where it doesn't look like a photo anymore. I mean, and that's not a bad thing at all. It just to me, it's not as, I feel like the heron is just a little bit more realistic, but the scene itself is just a little bit more dreamlike.
Yeah,
But with the cardinal as well, the only thing that kind of also threw me off was the tannish background against the overlay snow. And that overlay snow to me didn't completely fit that scene because there's no snow on the branches or anything else like that. I mean, I see what they were going with, but I wish they would have put snow on the branches and made it kind of look a little bit more like they were making a winter scene, if that's
Yeah.
what they were going for.
okay.
That's just, yeah.
As I look at the heron, I do like the wing spread on it. I mean, there's great points on both of these.
Yeah.
I do like the background with the blue heron. Just as dreamy, as you said, it's dreamy. That's what the background is.
Yeah.
So I could go that way. I mean, I agree with you what you're saying about the birds.
Yeah.
I don't know. I look at that heron and I think there's more editing that was done to the heron than to the cardinal.
I don't think so. I think they just put a blur on the actual photo itself in Photoshop. I mean, technically, if you zoom in on the heron itself, there's nothing different. I mean, I've photographed a heron a million times and a heron looks like that.
Right.
There's no difference. But when you go on that cardinal and you zoom in on it, that doesn't look like a cardinal. I photographed a cardinal a million times. So, I mean, and a female cardinal at that too. So I know what that looks like. It's just, I don't know. It just, to me, the heron is more realistic than the cardinal is. But that's not easy to do either, because with a cardinal, you need a very high telephoto lens to get that close. It may have had to crop in, so it may have actually ruined the quality itself of the photo too. So I kind of had to give that into consideration as well. But I mean, if both of you are in agreement of the cardinal being third, we can do that too. I mean, I have no issues. They're both technically decent, good photos. I just would have liked to see things different in the cardinal one.
Right. And I was going to offer up, listen, I am not a birder. I you know, if I shoot an image that's got a bird in it, it's in the sky as part of a sunrise or a sunset.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Spencer, I would defer to you on that.
Yeah.
Because of your work. So I'm okay with going either or. It puts the pressure on you, Pat.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Well, with that said, I have to just lean slightly towards the heron. Although personally, I do like that cardinal.
I mean, I like it too. It's just, I feel technically the other one's done just a little bit better. I mean, they're both very, very well done. It's just, I don't know.
Okay. Well, with that said, I will go with the heron.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
I made one friend.
Let's see. So first place is the river. Second place is Split Rock. I didn't get that way. third place is the heron. Why'd you go there? My computer's giving me headaches here, so hang on with me. Keeps adding more people's names than I wanted to add. 7, it's a 6.
Mind if I
Okay.
take a restroom break quick too?
Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you.
Well, we can't be too boring because we still have 38 participants.
Well, what's really kind of cool about doing it, this is the first time we're doing it this way, is that normally the judges are sitting up front and they're whispering amongst themselves. And so no one really gets to hear the comments on the pictures in the past. So this is the first time they're getting to hear anyone talk about them as we go through them.
Well, last summer, I actually acted as a judge for the Waukesha County Fair. And they had, while I was judging, people were allowed to be there. And I asked them to hold any questions or comments until after I was done with the category. And it was remarkable how many people were physically there to see the judging and then actually had questions and were willing to ask and receive some criticism. You know, it's never fun when your pet project doesn't do well, but you know, if you're willing to listen, sometimes you can easily become a better photographer. And a lot of times also it comes down to personal preference. And you know, I'll be the first one to tell you that, you know, if I actually don't like an image just because of the content of it, I'll tell you it's still a good image. You know, I recognize that fact, but it may not be my personal preference. So
I think that's one of the biggest things is everybody judges art subjectively. So it's not something, it's not an easy thing to do what we're doing right here in general. So I agree though. I'm excited for this next category.
Yeah, okay. We'll come back to that part. Okay.
If it's the category I'm thinking of, I might have been excited if y'all would have given me better scores, but I'm just saying.
Oops, one more thing. I forgot to do that. Okay, all right. So the next category is color nature projected. With this one, no manipulation is allowed other than removal dust spots, no hand of man. We have 5 images. These are the 5. Do you want to just discuss, or do you want to do an in and out to try to narrow it down to 3 or 4?
It's up to you guys.
Well, yeah, I guess we can discuss if you want to, Jonathan.
Well, like Elizabeth just said, the discussion actually helps the people that submitted. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Sure.
Okay.
So who wants to go first?
All right. I'll take. Might as well. I'm on top on my screen here. As I'm looking at this, the eagle struck me when I first went into this category and I saw this one. When you look at that in full size or full screen, I mean, the eyes are crystal clear, and the look is the look of the eagle. I just like the clarity of it. That's my take on that. The bears, I like the polar bears. I like what they're doing, and I like the white on white. That's difficult to do. The bee is a nice shot. Great separation from the back. Pretty nice clarity. When I go down to the hummingbird, that one stands out to me also because that's another difficult shot to achieve, especially with a hummingbird and getting the wings as clear as they did, and also getting it to be by a flower versus one of the pots that they sometimes go to. And of course, the background is super without any hot spots in it. The flowers is a very nice shot also with great separation. You've got your three front ones there that are pretty clear, which I really like. But for me, the three that stand out for me are the eagle, the bears, and the hummingbird.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll start with the hummingbird. That was the image that stuck out to me out of this whole grouping in the first place. To be able to balance your ISO and shutter speed, have the correct lighting to be able to capture this perfectly. The highlights are perfect on the image. The separation from the subject to the background is perfect. I honestly had this on top of everything, so I had this as my number one. My number two would have been the bee and the flower. This is one of the most natural shots that I've seen. It has some of the best and natural clarity that I've seen out of all the images. Just incredible. And I don't think it's overly done. And I'm looking at it zoomed in on a very large monitor. And I mean, this is an image that you could blow up large. And you can even see detail, pollen detail on each of the buds of the plants, along with that little bug. It's just, I don't know, that image pulled me in quite a bit. And even the reflection on the bee's eye. And then for me, three would have been the eagle. So when I look at that one large on my computer, I feel like the focus was a little bit off of the eye. I mean, it's clear, but it's not like clear. But when you look at its mouth, the mouth is actually a little bit more in focus than the eyeball itself. So, I mean, if he was going for full on eye focus rather than, you know, the beak, the nostril, or something like that, I mean, there's a lot of depth to birds. So, when you're shooting, you know, at f2.8 or f4 or whatever, when you're getting that close, I mean, you're going to have to shoot it like f5.6 just to be able to get the depth from the beak to the eye. I didn't see the clarity as well as what you were talking about when you said that. I mean, it's good, but it's not overly good. But that's probably also because they had to crop in quite a bit in this image, I'm assuming, in order to get it. Unless there's no cropping allowed in this. I don't remember in the rules if there was no cropping.
They can crop.
They can crop? Okay.
Yes.
So that may have been the result, honestly, of the resolution loss in general, is just the cropping. But I still think the focus was just a tiny bit off. But still, it's a stupendous image. It's beautiful. That's why I still would put it as between number 3 and number 2, but I think I would put that as number 3.
Okay, well, we all agree on number 1 being sweet nectar, the hummingbird. That's phenomenal. That is a phenomenal shot. Number 2, I would have as the eagle. I see, Spencer, I see what you're talking about as far as the focus point. It's
Yeah.
slightly back from, or it's slightly forward from where it probably should be, but I do believe, yeah, it was probably a heavy crop. It's a stunning image. That is a stunning image. And number 3, I do like the polar bears. White on white is tough. I like the symmetry of the image. You know, it's not as if you're following a script when you're talking about polar bears fighting out in the wild. So the opportunity to get them in that position or capture that, I think is phenomenal. I appreciate the bee. I do. And there's tremendous detail in that photograph. The spring red buds is my least favorite. It's a good image. Face it, it's competing against wildlife, and that's a tough thing. That is just an absolute tough thing. I guess, yeah, it's the hummingbird, it's the eagle, and then it's the polar bears as far as I'm concerned.
And so you both are kind of on the same level there. I think the only two you had, did you have it differently with the polar bear and the eagle? Because I mean, I can agree with the eagle being number 2. And I see what you're 100% saying about the polar bear. And I guess I was looking at it more technically than anything. The photo itself, not necessarily the experience of photographing it in general. The photo is really good. It's just I wish they would have done a little bit more noise correction on the image itself, because it is pretty grainy. I mean, some people enjoy that style. Like you said, that's really kind of a style preference in general, but I could still put that as my number 3. I mean, I can agree with the hummingbird being number 1. I can agree with the eagle being number 2, and I can agree with the polar bears being number 3 over the bee. Still an honorable mention to the bee and flower, though. And the flower image with the rosebuds is still a great image, but like you said, competing against everything else in this whole category, it's pretty difficult for that to come out on top in general, no matter what you do. I mean, so yeah.
I have to say I'm with Spencer.
Pat, say that again.
I said I have to say I'm with Spencer. And his thoughts with the hummingbird as number 1, the eagle is number 2, and the polar bears is number 3.
Are we all agreed on that? Okay.
Yeah.
Where did we go here? Went the wrong way. Okay, first place hummingbird. Second place. Oops, don't forget to do that. That over. Hummingbird. second. It's number 7. And the B's. Ken, I think you got the easier job.
Yes, actually, it does go pretty easy, Jeff.
Third. Okay. Got it. All right, the next category is probably one of the harder ones, sunrise, sunset. We have 5 images in here. I'll show you all 5. I didn't do this on the last time, but I'll just so everybody can see them a little bigger. We'll show them individually. So do you want to just discuss them? You want to do in and out on this? I know.
We can discuss if you guys want.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
I want to jump in. The truly red sunset, which for me is in the upper left-hand corner. of this.
Okay.
When I look at that image, I have a big issue with it. There's sensor spots on it. If you look in the upper right quadrant of that image, there are sensor spots or dust spots from the sensor.
Okay.
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 I looked at it a bit on my other screen, and it took me a bit to find it, but I do see it. Initially, I didn't see it.
I didn't either until you pointed it out. I for that image personally, I feel like it's a little bit oversaturated. Just a little bit, a tad. I would have pulled back a little bit from that. And then I also wish they would have captured, honestly, more of the foreground element itself. Because, I mean, it's about 8/10 sky and about 2/10 foreground. And I feel like it could have been blended a little bit more with the foreground and not just, you know, bam, sky, and that's it. I think there could have been a little bit more into it. So personally, I had that one kind of ruled out of the 5 to begin with.
Right.
My top one, technically, out of all of them, is the simplistic number 4. So like the second on the bottom, the orange sunset. I find that for me to be number 1. It's just so simple, but yet it works so perfectly with what they were doing. The colors, it's not overly saturated. It just works well. The colors work well with each other. It's technically solid. I think the composition is solid, and I think they did great work with that one. For me, number 2, a lot of people shoot here, but I think this is a really unique angle that they got of the Sturgeon Bay Canal. that would be my number 2. I think technically it's a solid photograph. It's got a great foreground element along with those pretty sunset tones in the background, which they actually did a great job of not looking at the sunset itself, but actually turning around and looking at the back end of the sunset. So I think that was a great image. And then for me, number 3 was the ice scene, the stream runoff at dawn. And this image actually, it confuses me. These clouds had to have been moving pretty darn quick is what I'm guessing, because it's like looking at the stream itself, it didn't cause very much motion. Like it didn't capture very much motion in this long exposure. So that's why it kind of threw me off in the first place. I thought that would have been kind of completely smoothed out with how long this exposure was in general. So it's really interesting though, with the foreground elements that lead out to the big lake and then the sky. But the only thing that I wish they would have done with this image is actually make it into a portrait orientated photo and actually crop it in a little bit more on the sides. And I feel like they could have cropped into the stream a little bit more and it really would have led your eyes all the way down the image. And that's the only technical thing that I could have done different. And then honorable mention for me would have been the pinkish cotton candy sky with the landscape. Technically, I think it's a great photograph. It's just, to me, there's just so much to look at. It doesn't really focus on one thing. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot of texture and details, but it doesn't focus on one thing. So that was kind of the only reason that I didn't put that in my top 3. I mean, it's a pretty photo, but anybody can really take a photo of a landscape that's out there and call it a landscape. And that's that. And that's the same way I kind of felt for the really, really saturated lower mountain scene too. I just felt like they were kind of like landscape sky. Just, it kind of was simplistic in a sense. So that was my take.
Okay, I agree with you on the first one, the sky and the water with the landscape coming up. It's number 1, 2, 3, number 4 on my screen. I like the sky and I like how the reflection went, and it's nice and smooth. It's not overly saturated or overly sharp.
Yeah.
The second one I like is the winter scene. I like the clouds. I like the way they elongated with the long shot, and how the water scene in the back is smoothed out, but yet there's reflection in it. I also like how they got the color of the snow correct in the photograph, which is another tough thing to do. And of course, they've got the color from the sunrise or sunset in the background. I'm kind of torn between the lighthouse and the kind of ones with the pinkish sky. I kind of like the colors in the pinkish sky one with the brownish at the bottom. The lighthouse, now I've shot this lighthouse also, but I didn't have that sky, and I'm not sure if I did that angle. So it is a little unique to it as far as shooting it, and it's a nice foreground part of it. So I could go along with the lighthouse as number 3. Definitely the other 2 sunsets deserve an honorable mention, which I think they'll get anyway. But my first one is the yellowish landscape. The second one is the snow, and the third one's the lighthouse.
And I could honestly switch the lighthouse and the snowscape around easily too. I mean, I was pretty close with that too, so I could agree with you just before you go on.
Well, Sunset in Alaska, which is the yellow golden toned, that is absolutely gorgeous. I love how it's weighted. The tonality is spot on. Beautiful capture. My number 2 was in fact the lighthouse, and my number 3 was the snow scene. I have not had the opportunity to go to Sturgeon Bay to photograph this lighthouse, even though I lived not quite 45 minutes south of it for most of my life. I do appreciate that the angle that they're shooting at. I have not seen many shots of it from that angle, and the time of day that it was captured. I love that warmer tone on the right hand side of the building. That's tremendous. The snow scene I like more than the cotton candy scene. The cotton candy scene is nice, but I almost feel like the landscape portion of it lacks some depth.
Yeah.
The stream runoff is a good image. It's a solid image, and it uses the technical, it uses technical aspects to it to create a good foundation for that photograph. I really wish that they would have lowered the camera a little bit,
Yeah.
and gotten a little closer to that snow. But I can appreciate that sky too. And it's a hard blend. That's a hard blend. So that would be my number 3. The sunset in Alaska would be 1. The Sturgeon Bay Lighthouse would be number 2, and the stream runoff at dawn would be number 3.
I can go either way. Like I said, I mean, to me, both those 2 and 3, they're very technically close. I mean, they're both very well done. So I mean,
I can agree with that also.
I mean, my first original hunch was the Lighthouse 2, just because it is such a technical difference from every other image that I've seen. I mean, just the way of looking at that lighthouse, because it is a very shot lighthouse. So finding a different perspective from everybody else isn't always easy to do. And this person achieved that with good light and everything else. I mean, he made a technically solid photograph. So I appreciate that. So honestly, I probably would stick, if I'm thinking about, I would stick with the sunset in Alaska with number 1, Sturgeon Bay Lighthouse 2, and then stream runoff 3.
Yeah, I'm with you on that also.
Okay, sounds like we got a consensus. So, I gotta do it that way. So this is number 1.
I'm jealous. Whoever took this, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I was too. I was very jealous at this image. That's a place I've always wanted to visit. Funny story about that Sturgeon Bay Lighthouse, though. I actually got chased out of there by the owners of that lighthouse and told me I couldn't shoot there. I couldn't take pictures of it. So, which was a big difference of experience than a lot of other photographers have actually had out there. I didn't even know it was privately owned, but it is a privately owned lighthouse. So somebody who lives there occasionally, and they told us we couldn't be there. So I haven't gone back since.
Well, I believe you can be on the walkway, but you can't you can't go on the shoreline where that's taken because that's privately owned.
It's owned by
the Coast Guard.
Yeah, the Coast Guard
owns the lighthouse, but you got a small area and you can go out on the ramps, from what I understand. I've shot it from there a lot of times.
The Coast Guard owns the lighthouse that's on the land, and then the lighthouse that's on the water is privately owned. Yeah. So basically what that lady told me was like, how would you like people coming up to your house and taking pictures? I was like, well, I'd be honored, honestly. Like, I mean, if my house is that great to take a picture of, shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just had too many people doing it.
Probably
In
for
not a
quite
nice
while.
way.
Yeah, that was my guess too. I was like, man, you guys have probably been dealing with this for such a long time too.
Well, if you're ever in question, you can always put your feet in the water.
That's
Because
true.
then
That's true.
it's public access.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, the last one, landscapes.
Oh, yay. This was a good one.
We have 4 images. I'll go through each one individually just so everybody can see them large. So I guess with 4, we'll let you discuss it.
Okay, I'll jump in first this time. I'm going to go with the final image as my number 1 image, and it kind of stands out so much for me. Technically, this is such an incredibly beautiful photo. The trees contrasting the mountains with the dramatic cloudy sky coming over, and then the pano style photo with it, just taking in the entire scene, kind of puts me in that spot, in that zone, and I love it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I would put that number 1. Number 2 for me would be the mountain reflections. Beautiful shot. I like how they framed the peak of that mountain with the trees. It's not overly processed. It doesn't have too much texture or clarity. I think it's done properly and well. I mean, the only thing that I would have done at all a little bit different was maybe bring down a smidge the highlights on the mountains themselves. But other than that, I think it's technically a good solid number 2. And then for me, number 3 would be Autumn Reflections. I think it's a solidly gorgeous image. And one thing that I like, which I think they did, I believe they may have shot a little bit of a longer exposure because they got a little smoothing of the water itself, which gave that reflection, that soft reflection, that's what I like about the separation between detail and that soft quality of the water. I think technically that's a very, very good photo. The only thing that I would have done a little bit differently was maybe bring the red tones down just a little bit. I feel like they're just a little bit too harsh. Other than that, I think it's a great photo. And then I had trouble kind of picking between the hills scene and that scene. The only reason I chose the reflection scene over the hills scene is I feel like they should have a little bit of noise corrected and maybe pushed the shadows a little bit on the hill scene. I don't think that extra detail from pulling out the shadows in that secondary part was worth the noise in the image itself. Other than that, technically it's a really pretty picture. The composition is top notch because there's so many layers to that, but I still feel that the reflection comes a little bit higher to me than the hill scene. So that's where I'm going to go.
Okay. Well, I'll start out with the hill scene. I love the depth of it because you really get depth from front to back, as you can see how the mountains fade out. Although the shadow in the front there does bother me a little bit. Other than that, it's a great shot. The reflection scene is one that I always like to take, and I've taken some similar to this. It looks like they had some decent lighting for this. Even though the sky is rather blue at this time, I'm not sure what time it was taken, but it's still got some decent colors, not over lighted or flat light like you get. I do like the last one of my panel here, which is the Rocky Mountain, I think it is, scene, because I've also taken one that was similar to that when I was in the Rockies. It's got a great sky. I like the front mountain, and I love the back mountains with the snow. And of course, the reflection one is another great one. The only thing I might have done is might have just raised horizon line up just a little bit. But other than that, it's done very well technically. So for me, I would pick the lower right, which is I think the Rocky Mountain one, and then the reflection scene, and then the mountain scene. Those would be my three.
Well, we all agree on the mountain reflection, and I look at it's called Coming Winter, the lower left, with the Rocky Mountains and the snow in the background. I wish there were a little more separation and detail and probably contrast in the clouds in that sky. The rolling hills that are directly above it, that appeals to me more. I could deal with the not quite shadow of the second hill. I love the depth of that image. And I think it's composed really well. And then the clouds are, they mimic the feeling that I get from looking at the landscape. I would put that above the Rocky Mountains and snow one of the lower left. What is that called? Coming Winter. The fall color and the fall color reflection, I think it is gorgeous. I agree that they could have turned the red down a little bit, but overall, it's a nicely composed image, and I do like the smoothing that occurred on that water to capture that reflection. And they still retain that little bit of low-hanging fog that's present. If I'm ranking, the mountain reflection in the lake is number one for me. Number two would be I believe it's called the East Fork Overlook, the upper right. And number three would be the UP Fall.
So we're completely off then.
It's been too easy up to this point.
I know this is gonna be a little bit challenging then, because I see your points completely about the overlook, but I just don't see the negativities you see in Coming Winter. I just don't. I would literally have that as a 48 by 12 print in my house. I mean, it's just such a gorgeous. I understand where you want that separation a little bit more between the mountain side and then the foreground mountain. Like I totally get that in general. I feel like it would. I don't know how they would have done that in order to get that depth. But I see what you're saying with it. I get where you're coming from it. And I may be a little bit biased because I haven't seen the mountains very much in my life. So just to mind you people, so I get kind of flabbergasted every time I see them anytime. So, I mean, technically, I feel like it's a good photo. I do see your merits with the mountain reflections being number one. I can see that. Like I said, the only thing that I would have liked to see possibly is maybe moving the composition just a little bit up. I mean, to make it I see the symmetry, but this image wouldn't have to necessarily be symmetrical if you didn't want it to. I mean, you could have moved it a little bit up and made the mountain the bottom of the image so it framed the bottom of the reflection itself. So that's the only thing. And then turning down the highlights just a little bit on the mountains, but maybe doing it selectively so you don't do anything with the sky and leave that exactly the same. But I could switch my number one between the mountain reflection and the coming winter. So I could agree at that one. Let's do that right there. Number two, you said was the overlook. Technically, it's a good image. If I wanted to be honest about it in the first place, I wish they would have focus stacked. That's one skill that, I mean, you could shoot this at f8, but you're still not going to get the technicality that you would if you would have put 4 separate focus stacks in this image, and then it really would have dragged you into the entire image. I mean, it does, but it lacks the details in the background and everywhere else that it doesn't give me that. It doesn't pull me in as much, I guess, which I like the fog. I like that low-lying fog over the hills in the back. And I feel like technically, like I said, it's a very, very strong image. That's why it's in the top 4 of all of these images in the first place. So I could put it in my top 3 and knock out the actual fall reflections. So this would be my compromise. I mean, I could do mountain reflections as being my number 1. I could do the overlook technically as number 2, just because technically it is a very good photo. I just feel like it could have been done a little bit differently, but that's a personal thing. That's me. And then 3, I could do coming winter. I could switch out the reflection for coming winter, but I feel I can't take coming winter out of my entire top 3 because that's just, to me, it just stands out. It stands out a lot. It stood out to me in the entire list of photos, and it still stands out when I see it compared to all 4. So I can agree top 2 if we can compromise on 3.
Okay. So let's see. We're looking at the reflection as the number 1. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go along with that because, to tell you the truth, when I first got into this category and that one came up, it struck me with how nice the reflection is and the colors and the slight fog that's on the shoreline.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the mountain reflection scene is another great shot, which I could go with as.
Wait, Pat, I don't want to interrupt you, but the mountain reflection is what we're talking about as number 1. The fall color.
Okay.
Fall color.
Is the number 2?
Actually, Spencer is talking about making number 4.
Oh, okay. That's what Spencer's talking about.
I believe so.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead, Jonathan? I'm going to look a little bit more.
All right. Well, this one's fun. This one's fun. I mean, the mountain reflection on the lake. I like it. I do think that the highlights might be just a touch hot, but it is an extremely strong image. Extremely strong. I do like the fall color over the fall color reflection. That's in my top 3. And again, the East Fork overlook, which is the non-white mountain scene. I love that. It's a gorgeous image. It's well composed. I love the tonality. Even if there is no real when I look at the shadows, I look to see how much depth there actually is, and the shadows aren't quite deep enough for me to make it number one. But I like that. I like that one as much as Spencer loves the coming winter. So yeah.
Well, I had the mountain reflections number one, the overlook number two, and then coming winter number three. I mean, I have a hard time pushing coming winter out for the autumn reflections. I mean, if I have to, I have to, if you vote 2-1, but other than that, I'm agreeing with 1 and 2. So
Okay, now where are we at here? We got autumn,
mountain reflections number one.
autumn reflections number one.
Yeah. And then the overlook with all the depth as number two. And then we're between coming winter and autumn reflections for number three.
Okay. Autumn.
No pressure, Pat.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I got my names right here. Okay, the coming winter.
Yeah. Can you
Do you
put
want
the
me to pull Mountain Reflection and the Smoky Mountains just out so that you can decide for 3 easier?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the first two.
So yes.
Okay.
So the overlook and the mountain reflections. So we're between.
So let me drop them out for you so that it makes it easier to understand. So these are the 2 that you're trying to decide for 3rd place.
Okay. I like them both, but as I said, the color one stands out more for me. I would have to go with the reflection.
Then we're 2-1. Then we'll go reflection.
Okay.
You know, I do like coming winter. I'll tell you that it's a good image, and I do love the fact that they presented it as a panoramic image.
Well, scenes like that almost have to be because they're so immense. It's just, it's hard to do justice to something that's that big. I mean, and put it into a photo. It really never does it justice unless you make it large. I think they could have even made it bigger. They could have probably made it a 20 panel panoramic. But
I will say that this judging has been difficult, even from the get-go, because of how many great images are in here.
oh yeah,
And I gave, quite high scores to quite a few of them. Very few were getting 3s because they were just done so well. I've seen a big improvement. I've been doing this now for, oh my God, over 10 years with the competition. And I see improvement every year. And this year's another improvement on people's skills with this stuff. So
more time to practice with COVID.
yeah, I guess.
That's my guess.
Okay, now for the fun part.
We've been having a blast up to this point. What do you mean, fun part?
Now you get to pick best of show, best of all of them. So we got this one here, this one here, this one here, this one there. Oh, there, one more. And that one there. 1, 2, 3. Why do I have more than I'm supposed to have? Oh, that's because it should be that one. And we 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we have 6 images to choose from. Ken, can you double check me to make sure I've got all the first place images right?
What if I have something different, Jeff? What are you gonna do?
Then I'll go back and pull the right one.
No, I've got the same 6, Jeff.
Okay, I just don't want to screw it up.
Yep, no, that's the same 6 that I have on my screen.
Okay, judges, so we have these 6 images, and you need to pick the best of show from those 6.
Did you want to do an in and out with these?
Yeah, that's what I'm. Let me see if I can do something here.
And you probably need to show the larger images of each one too, Jeff.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, there are 2 images up there that really stand out.
Okay, now, yeah, I've got them all, so I'll show them each individually. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't know why I got that one as a different color. Yeah, okay, I got them right. Ken said so. All right. Do you want to do an in and out for this to try to get it down a little smaller? Or you want to just discuss it?
I think we can just discuss.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have personally 2 favorites, which are surprisingly both monochrome. So my favorite out of all 6 of them is the bottom right, the desert scene. That's me coming from my landscape background. So that's, to me, sticks out, I think, with a sore thumb. But I'd be interested, obviously, to hear what you both think, too.
Pat, I'll give you the middle spot.
Yeah. Yeah, this is tough. Everyone deserves it, really. I do like the subtlety of the Alaskan sunset. Of course, the hummingbird is a great shot too. I agree. I agree with the sand that I liked. That was between that one and the clouds in the black and whites were actually my 2 favorites from all the black and whites. The rocks with that sand with the waves in it is just great. I really like that. I do like the mountain stream, but I'm torn between the hummingbird and the lower black and white one in the bottom right corner. And Spencer, what do you think?
Mine was the bottom right.
Okay.
So the sand scene. I mean, obviously, every single one of these images is technically solid and perfect. It's just, to me, that scene itself, out of all the photos I saw, stuck out like a sore thumb. It's a very technically solid photograph. It's beautiful. I mean, and that's even that's even more of coming winter for me, and that's not even on the list. And I really liked that one. But it's between, for me, the two on the right, the lenticular clouds over the mountains, and then the desert scene. And like I said, I think the desert one trumps that for me.
Okay.
I see your merits with Hummingbird because it's such a technically solid photograph. It's just, for me, it's hard to top that surreal beauty of the desert and the clouds and everything else. It's a solid image. It's powerful.
Well, the two black and whites jumped out. They clearly jumped out at me. I agree. The lower right-hand corner, the sand, that is a phenomenal image, and it deserves best of show. The tonality of that image kind of blows my mind. You know,
Yeah.
when I see that, I think Ansel Adams. You know, if you put a 12-step scale up there, you're going to find it, and it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. The second one would be the clouds over the Rockies, and that's, again, it's a phenomenal, strong image, and the tonal range is tremendous. But that sand, that is number one.
I have to agree with you guys, because that one really stands out for me too.
It's a
Okay, well,
Yeah, it's a powerful image. Congratulations to the photographer that got that image.
Yeah, I agree.
okay, great. Nice choice.
And we didn't even have to draw blood.
No, no, that was pretty easy.
We get to know who took this one?
You know, in order to protect things, I didn't put the photographers' names down on any of these images.
Oh,
I have it.
You have it.
Yeah, it's Jeff McDonald.
Nice. Well, congratulations, Jeff, if you're on.
Congrats,
It's beautiful.
Yeah, congratulations,
Congratulations.
Jeff. Very nice image. Which camera club is he with, Jeff?
That I can't tell you. Ken might be able to tell you. He's got the list.
Okay.
Or wait, I probably can.
Give me a second here.
I got the list here too.
Let's see, what category was that? Oh, that was a black and white.
East Troy viewfinders, it
Yeah.
looks
Okay.
like. Or wait, did I get that right? Too many columns. Yeah, East Troy viewfinders.
Well, compared to, I spent 35 years as a product photographer, and
wow.
a couple of years ago, I opened a studio here in Racine, and now I'm shooting models, and so I'm appreciating the fact that I get to shoot something with a pulse now. And so the opportunity to take part in judging what primarily is landscape and wildlife, that's tremendous. I love that, and thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
It was a great time and quite an honor. Thanks.
Yes, I totally agree.
I agree completely as well. So many great images.
And Spencer, you want to give us a little bit of your background and what type of photography you do?
Sure, most definitely. I started off about 2 years ago. I really got into birding. I made a giant step into landscape and long exposure fine art photography about 1.5 years ago, and made a business for that, particularly selling fine art prints, canvases. I just got a whole deal with the state of Wisconsin and the DNR. I'm actually going to be selling my work in all of the nature centers and the state parks around Wisconsin. But I primarily focus in sunrise, sunset, and landscape photography. But I do portrait work on the side, including weddings, seniors, family photos, but that's just on the extra side. So
Great.
Yeah, I specifically went to Spencer as soon as I knew we were doing sunrise, sunset, because I thought that would be a good fit. So thank you.
yes, thank you for coming to me. That was interesting getting to judge those.
Again, a couple fives on my images in that category would have been nice, guys.
You should put your name next to them.
I was going to send them to both of you just so you'd have an advance warning.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I took all the names off of the score sheets to prevent any of that from taking place.
Yeah. Ken, let's not forget that I went to Spencer and Jonathan, so I could have just sent them my pictures.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't even think about that.
You can always look, we could have always looked at the metadata too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Well, we got to keep it honest, so what the heck. We've got a 14-minute slideshow showing all the honorable mentions and the award winners. Now, they're not in any real set order because I don't have enough time to organize it. We are going to redo and put a video of the award-winning images up on the WACCO website, along with a general slide show presentation on there. But just so everybody can see all the different HMs and first, second, and third, like I said, they're going to pop up wherever they were on my Lightroom because it's too hard to do, and it runs about 14 minutes. So here's that show.
Jeff?
Yeah?
Can you just hold on just a second? I just wanted to announce that after we do that slideshow, we'd like to do the PSA console challenge show, which WACCO did very well on in that PSA competition. So if we have, for those that want to stay a little bit longer after the Jeff's slideshow of this competition, we'll be just running the PSA consoles challenge show.
Yeah, and maybe so everybody knows, we use the winning images from this competition and the spring competition to pick the images that go into the council's challenge. So we're using all of those images combined together because we need 30 images for the council's challenge. So that's a state or United States-wide competition.
It's actually international, Jeff, isn't it?
No, councils are just in Wisconsin, or just in the United States.
All right.
So here's all the HMs. Hopefully the names are all right. I had a little bit of problem in the beginning on first, second, and third where names may have gotten messed up a little bit. So if they are, I apologize. They'll be fixed when they go onto the website. So here it goes. You are hearing sound, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Those are all the images. Again, thank you to all the judges. They did a great job for this competition. I know there were a lot of great images in there, and as you could see from the show, a lot of good honorable mentions in first, second, and third places. So with that, I will let Ken run the Council's Challenge show.
Okay, what I wanted to mention was just the people that won the HMs and above for that. So for the color, Jerry Klisch got an HM, Jeff McDonald, and Jerry Emmerich, all in the color division. In the nature division, we did very well. Patricia Toshin-Dicey got an HM. Chris Welchian got a third place. Gerald Emmerich, Joseph Eichers, and Roger Krill all got HMs. And in the monochrome, Ian Dickman got an HM. So we did very well. We got a second place in nature and a second place in color, and fourth place overall out of 14 consoles for the competition. Now, Jeff, we didn't get a chance to do any run-throughs of this ahead of time. I'm just wondering, do I need to leave and come back to have the sound come through my computer, or can we just try my computer sound being picked up by the microphone?
No, it should pick up when you hit share screen.
Okay.
Make sure you check both boxes at the bottom of the share screen that says share computer sound.
Okay.
And
All
it
right.
should play.
All right. Oh, okay. Let's see. was very good, Jeff. Good to see. We still have a lot of participants that are still watching and recognize many of these names that were seen in the honorable mentions and above in today's competition. So congratulations to everyone.
Yes, thanks everybody for watching. This stuff will all be posted on the WACCO website in the next week or so. And I don't know how quick Ken will be getting awards out, but the awards, I believe, will go right to the delegates, and then they'll distribute them.
Well, I think we'll bypass that, Jeff, since there's
Oh, and you're
really
gonna
aren't any
do it.
meetings going on. We'll mail them directly to the entries,
Okay.
and I should be able to get it out within 2 weeks. I will have to order the plaque for best of show, so that might take a little bit longer. But otherwise, within 2 weeks, I should have everything out.
Yeah. So in the next couple of weeks, they'll be on the website, and we'll be, after that, getting started for the spring competition, which will also be a virtual competition. So watch for information from your delegates. So I think that's about it, unless Elizabeth has something she wants to say.
I do not, but thanks. Well, I do. Thanks to Ken and Jeff for doing all the work of putting this together and figuring out how to run everything virtually. I think it went great. And I loved hearing all the comments from the judges.
Yep. Yeah, I think that works really nice. So, great. Well, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you or see you one of these days. And thanks for coming to the WACCO competition.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.